CloudDB, shaping your new normal.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this session. It's a pleasure for me to speak at the Asia Pacific Oracle user community. For the past years, and I've been presenting live on multiple countries across the tour, but this year is different due to COVID. It's virtual. I hope to see you soon down there in the next year. Thank you very much to Francisco, who has been a great supporter of all the Oracle user community across the world. Today, I'm going to be talking about my experience, my personal experience, running IT at a company that was on eBusiness Suite and has moved into Fusion applications. What are the aspects that you would expect to change? What are the things that you must consider for this change? This is not just for IT managers or IT directors. It's also for you as an analyst or as a user, and the things that you're going to see different from eBusiness Suite to Fusion applications. Let me get started with a quick introduction. My name is Gustavo Gonzalez. I'm a Chief Technology Officer at IT Convergence. I'm also an Oracle SaaS Director with specialty on applications. I've been in the market of applications for almost more than 20 years now. And I co-author a book on eBusiness Suite. I also was a technical reviewer of one of the early books on Fusion applications and how to develop customizations there. User groups are key for our work, for our professional development, and for our organizations that we work for. I've been a big promoter on user groups and the communities. I'm the president of Argentina Oracle User Group. That's where I'm based out of. And also, I'm the board of directors, former president of Latin America Oracle User Community, and I'm a current board member of the Oracle Applications Technology User Group, one of the largest groups in North America. Now, I'm wearing two hats, which means that in the company that I work, I head of IT, but I also helping customers. IT Convergence, it's a system integrator, it's a consulting company that offers development, consulting, implementations, upgrades, business intelligence and analytics, testing automation, a series of services around Oracle and non-Oracle technology. We have a big team in Hyderabad, India, a big team in the nearshore office in Buenos Aires, Argentina, but also offices, across Asia Pacific, such as India, China, and Singapore. If you want to learn more about IT Convergence, just go to www.itconvergence.com. Now, in the journey of our organization, a few years before I joined, there was an implementation of a business suite. And since I joined, we did this taking our own medicine, which means the software that we implement to our customers is the software that we use internally. We've been using the business suite, we've been using Oracle Business Intelligence. We were early adopters of Fusion applications, the HCM. We were beta testers of eBusiness Suite release 12.2. And since 2020, we are running our entire worldwide operations on Fusion applications. Now, this session is about that. It's about the journey. And what are the main differences that you will see from eBusiness Suite to Fusion applications? But let's get started with, why you will be heading into a transformation journey, okay? And over the last few years, the pace of change has accelerated, and even more due to COVID. The cloud and the artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing industries and how we think about educating people for work and organizing people at work. Given the rate of technological change and organization and human lag in it, according to this graph from Deloitte, there is a widening gap, and there's even a gap between human and institutions. However, organizations have an opportunity to close that gap, to close that bridge by adopting new technology and new systems. And that is where the true key problem facing organizations with respect to digital disruption is people. Specifically, the different rates at which people, organizations, and policies respond to technological advances. Okay, technology is faster than individuals can adapt it, and individuals adapt more quickly than change than organizations can, and organizations adjust more quickly than legal and societal institutions can. Now that is what is triggering today the agile and the agility of systems. But let me review a little bit, go a little bit far back on the changes. And I started, in the late 90s. So back at that time, we were talking and thinking on how to standardize on out-of-the-box software, global instances, shared service centers. E-business suite is a typical, driver of that. And Oracle has been putting in the product all the transformation that were happening on these different three phases. Multi-organization access control on e-business suite was a huge thing. And there was 4 shared service centers. Then we started with scaling the business, integrating portfolio of hardware and software solutions. And we see there SOX and Sarbanes-Oxley, and mergers and acquisitions. We see Sun. We started to see how Oracle, with the acquisition of Sun, was creating this merge between software and hardware together, and all the EXA family of products. And then, since a few years back, not even a decade ago, we started working on digitalizing the business, and the cloud and software as a service, to be more precise, has been coming here to change that. We're talking about public cloud, we're talking about all the different sorts of cloud. And digital transformation and digital is how the companies are being transformed. We see social, we see big data, we see cloud, we see Internet of Things, and how all the across industries, technology has been transforming that. Whether it's on healthcare, and we see the rapid adoption of COVID vaccines and being able to test, and the information that we were able to produce with results. Communication, 5G, retail, being able to purchase pretty much everywhere, having the sense of being able to see how a frame will look into your room with augmented reality. Self-driving cars, financial service, and the fintech industry booming. And of course, natural resources and being able to process remote maintenance out of that through the Internet of Things. So that journey and that transformation is definitely happening because of the tools that we have. And this is something that you can see across the different areas of your organization, creating greater efficiency, better information, and more influence on the business. Is the tools and the information and the software helping and influencing, creating this bigger influence on the business through the information. And to be more specific, the set of tools across Oracle Cloud SaaS, whether it's global, mobile, collaboration, user experience, and all that, it's across, and it's running on top of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Foundation on all the different families. Now, another aspect is how Oracle is helping on the product. So how that transformation that is happening across the industry is happening also for software developers. And in this case, Oracle is leveraging community and innovation for that. And we see a source of community with ideas. And you see, even in e-business suite, most of the new features that are on the products are coming from the community and from ideas. So you can, post an idea and get votes, and that will get through, different flow up to product management. But being able to share experiences, to learn about collective knowledge. And on the other hand, innovation at the fast pace, innovation that is, for advanced analytics, for adapted intelligence applications that can proactively suggest things to you. Big data, and of course, future technologies such as OCR, and being able to scan automatically and upload automatically into the system with repetitive tasks. Okay. Now, all that, these voice activated, and being able to have digital assistants and adapted intelligence applications that it's not just based on your data, it's also on the market data, being able to understand what is happening on customers, on other customers, and collecting the data to suggest and provide insights, whether it's on market trends or activities. Now, high technology business is changing. So, every industry is changing. We are facing, and in the high tech industry, we are facing skill shortage, and which is hurting the business. Now, we see pretty much anything as a service, bringing new possibilities and new revenue streams. So what you need to do is you need to be more agile. Okay. Now let's talk about our journey of ERP. And what you see here, IT conversions, as like many other customers, we have been working with e-business suite, and that's e-business suite. We haven't changed because we needed to be more agile, we needed to be more efficient. But today, e-business suite is certified and it's supported until 2030. So they just came out a new version, released 12.2.11, a few weeks ago. So Oracle continues to do investments on e-business suite, but what we did is we just went through a value assessment, and this is something that we really recommend to our customers. And you don't need to hire a company to do this. You can do it by yourself. Of course, if someone has experience on this, it's better for you, and you might have better results. But this value assessment has these four pillars, which is the business case, the considerations, the priorities, and the approach, right? And across that, we came up with, moving from e-business suite, which it has integrations. We initially thought of, doing a hybrid approach of cloud plus on-prem. But we identified that, well, the solution was a Fusion implementation. And when we talk about a Fusion implementation was a big bang approach that would allow IT conversions, board of directors, um, to improve decisions, to automate tasks, to manage risks, and to optimize assets. As I mentioned, our organization has, managed service, has hosting, has development, professional services, a high-tech industry, which you need to have all the information available from HR all the way to projects, and costing and general ledger to be able to report. And that is across the world with all the complexities that are in different countries, in different cultures. Now, when we talk about Fusion applications now, and what's the biggest change from eBusiness Suite to Fusion applications, um, I would like to talk about these four main aspects that have radically changed from eBusiness Suite to Fusion. One is the application architecture, right? And that's pretty basic. And we have changed that, and Oracle has changed that from the enterprise structures, data, and mappings. How we talk about Fusion applications and the old operating units and the things that we were talking about in eBusiness Suite have changed. Of course, improve the way that that mapping is done in Fusion applications. The other, which is pretty important for us, is what's the instance strategy, provisioning, and environment management. And for those who have been working with any SaaS, software as a service, you can think, well, it's something that is not managed by us, but it's different when we are talking about an ERP. It's different when you're talking about an HCM suite, rather than probably email. It's Gmail or Outlook or you name it. That's software as a service because you have multiple projects running on this, multiple implementations, and the business that is changing. Talking about single instance or global instance, multiple instances. Talking about the change of environment to point of delivery or pod. How you refresh, what are the different types of refresh, and how you mask the information. And of course, data integration, and because you don't have the flexibility of customizing, it's different how you customize. Migration and integrations are different on this case, and we need to rethink on how we do integrations. And the last is reporting. I also have a session on reporting that we'll talk and we'll cover on this APAC tour. That will cover that is next week. You can see, and I'm doing a summary of the portfolio of tools, specifically talking about some of the products that you see there, like OTBI, BI Publisher, and Fusion Analytics Warehouse, FAW. But let me double click on these items so we can talk in detail about them. When we talk about enterprise structure and data mapping, you can see here that we can model pretty much every organization here. And also you can see that there are some mandatory setups and there are some setups that are optional, okay? Which it's very important to understand these and do this enterprise structure very well thought at the beginning of your implementation, because this is going to be driving the entire most of the setups and security. One of the things that it's different from eBusiness Suite is that most of the security has changed into roles. And these roles, as you can see here, we have a user, we have a role, and we have data, a role can access to multiple data sets, whether it's a business unit in the US, on the West, on the East, right? But users and roles are granted to functions, right? And users are not directly granted to function, which means that, and then the data access is granted to a user for a role. So that is why, going back to enterprise structure and data mapping, it's critical to have that well thought to begin with. And here is an example of a control. Is the database resource, like a table where the data is stored, a data set which access is granted, and the condition that defines the data set, okay? And then the action, what can be performed on the data for that. So this is a big change from Business Suite to Fusion applications that you need to understand, that you need to work on this. Why? Because you have tools and you may think that this is complex. Well, there's very good information available for this, very good documentation from Oracle. Now, Oracle Fusion applications also allows you to do automated data provision. So there are many automation tools available there that will allow you to create a user, and that is happening today. So whenever HR creates an employee, automatically creates a user and automatically provision the roles, the basic roles, based on the employee location, based on the employee role. So that is auto provision based on some rules that we have set up. Okay. So again, everything is important to automate that, but based on the setups that you have done, which is different from e-business suite. The other is, and this is a chart that I took from the Oracle A team working in Fusion, which is a quick flow of whether you need a single or multiple global instance. And if everything points to this single production global instance, or consider multiple production instances. And I haven't seen multiple production instances in customers, but there are key areas such as, if you have business requirements that you need to store the data separately, if there are legal compliances for data, if there's some gaps based because of the how you configure centrally the information. That is very important. Now, also another aspect that you need to consider here is that Oracle is going to be operating, and there's going to be downtimes across your production pod, which means that for those companies that they have operations in multiple countries, when you select a region for Fusion applications, you're going to select one region, and the downtime, especially for upgrades, is going to be happening based out of that region that you select. Now, when and this is another important aspect, which is Oracle is doing upgrades to Fusion applications on a quarterly basis, right? And you're going to see here, the frequency is quarterly. There are 3 buckets. Our bucket is January, April, July, and October. So coming up in January, we're going to be implementing, or Oracle is going to be upgrading our instance as 21D. Okay, so 21 is the year, and you have A, B, C, D for each of the quarters. Okay, so 21D is upgraded in January, and then on April 2022, we're going to have the 22A. Okay, but again, that is something important because when Oracle is operating, they operate your test and development instances, and we're going to talk about these different pods that you can have, but it's going to operate your testing or development instances on the first Friday of the month that is described here, and then production 2 weeks after that. Okay, there is a like throwing the yellow flag if there is a an error or a bug that was identified that prevents you to work, priority 1. If not, Oracle will continue and will perform the upgrade. Now, when we're talking about other environments, and when you subscribe to Fusion applications, you subscribe to Fusion applications, and you receive with the subscription 2 environments, a production environment and a test environment. If you want another environment, you have to pay extra, and it's a percentage of your subscription. Now, there is a T2T, but the most common process, and there is a note there on cloud service entitlement. But the most common action is the environment refresh, which means production to test. There's also a test to test, but production to test is when you want to do a clone of production. Okay, now it is important for you that there is a lead time, minimum 3 weeks and maximum 12 weeks, depending on the workload of Oracle. Okay, typically for us was about 3 to 4 weeks, no more than 4 weeks. But that's something that you need to keep a plan ahead and match that with your upgrades and match that with the current projects that you have. So there are multiple aspects on the P2T that you need to consolidate and create and plan ahead of time. And that is something that we didn't have in EBS Suite, which is our clone piece, and you are just doing the clone. In this case, Oracle is doing that for you. Now, we need to talk about integration. And at IT Conversions, we have many integrations that we have built. We're using Oracle Integration Cloud Service. And one of the benefits that we see on the Oracle Integration Cloud Service is that there are pre-built adapters. As we are connecting to ServiceNow, we're connecting to Salesforce. We're using pre-built adapters on OIC to connect to other cloud services that we need to integrate with Fusion applications, okay? Very important, you don't need to be on Fusion applications to use OIC. You can also use OIC for EBS, SAP, and you name it, any custom application. But one of the things that we also have done is that we have worked with integration, not just only on connecting to external systems, but also we're using it for internal Oracle Cloud applications. Now, 4 things that you can do with Oracle integration. One of the things that the beauty of it is no code, it's serverless, it's real time. So we have a good number of tools that are available. We based on evaluations that we have performed for customers, Oracle is the only integration platform as a service vendor that has all these 4 components with pre-built templates and integrations that are helping us and our developers and you and your developers to deliver successfully digital solutions at the high pace, very high paced. Now, this is a screenshot of our integration, and one of the things that you see there are some globalizations. Okay, so the product has globalization. So one of the things that you will see that integration is being used also for globalizations. Now, last is reporting. Okay, and one of the things that you see there is different business users, different business cases, and different solutions for them. On one hand, on the left, you have the Cloud ERP, and it comes with BI Publisher. It also comes with Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence, and also comes with the Financial Reporting Center. And what that is, that is, BI Publisher is the same BI Publisher running on Fusion applications. Transactional Business Intelligence, or Transactional Business Intelligence, it's Oracle publish like more than 1,000 objects available, distributed by business areas that you can pull from there. You don't need to be a developer. Just go and grab the objects that you want, and based out of that, you can easily create reporting. But it's more like a look and feel of Oracle or OBIEE, but with transactional data. Okay, it's our objects that are pointing directly to Fusion Applications table. And then a Financial Reporting Center that gives you the ability to create kind of like FSGs, in the business suite, but creating financial reporting out of that. Then we have Oracle Enterprise Performance Manager, which is another tool, another product that it's connected. You can connect with Fusion applications directly and pull information from General Ledger to report. Typical use cases of that, consolidations, closing, legal and statutory reporting. All that is across EPM. And there's a new product that was launched about a year ago, which is called Fusion Analytics Warehouse, FAW, that it's for ERP, HCM, and supply chain manager. That I'm having another session next week to covering that, but it's a package analytics that runs on top of Fusion applications, is synchronized with all the upgrades of Fusion applications. So it's definitely worth exploring that as part of reporting strategy. I mentioned about globalization, and because I'm in Argentina, we're running operations in Argentina. This is a quick summary of how the globalization for Argentina is working. As you can see, you have the ERP, you have an integration cloud service, and then all the connections to the government and how this electronic invoicing and all the legal and statutory requirements are happening. There's also reports available for that, and that is inside the product. So which means that this is inside Fusion applications. All the globalizations for across the world are included in Fusion applications. Okay, but again, it's something that you need to follow some instructions, applying integration cloud service, creating all the integrations through a patch. In some cases, you need to even visual build the cloud service as part of that. Now, just to wrap up and to summarize, tips and tricks about it, right? About Fusion applications and this comparison between eBusiness Suite and Fusion applications. Now, in terms of a functional comparison, okay, with eBusiness Suite and ERP Cloud, our consideration is that in General Ledger, it's a little bit more comparable, more closer to superior in eBusiness Suite, in ERP Cloud and eBusiness Suite. Account payable as well. And then fixed assets, closer to comparable. When talking about expenses, it's about the same. accounts receivable, there's so many automations that you can do. Smart lists and the reporting and the look and feel, it's very modern. Advanced collections, a little bit higher, superior ERP cloud. And when talking about a cash management, it's comparable, and globalization is different. And one of the things that we have identified is that the complexity of the implementation in cloud is higher than what it was in eBusiness Suite. Now, part of that is because we had the ability in eBusiness Suite to be able to tailor, to tweak it with customizations, and it was faster and easier because if there was something that changed and Oracle wasn't able to fulfill on time, we had that flexibility. With Fusion, we don't, so we need to rely 100% on Fusion, and that is sometimes, with all the complexity of the installation, it's a little more superior eBusiness Suite than ERP Cloud. Now, why Oracle? Why SaaS? I think at this point for us, it was, having our organization step forward. We were able to avoid all the technology changes. With all the changes, avoid all the networking, DBA, and VPN security that we have around eBusiness Suite. With, once you get into this agility of the upgrades or the quarterly upgrades, the users get this exercise of testing, of knowing that, well, it's coming up a new release. There's some new features that we can turn on or keep off. So we have that. It's kind of like when you start and you have new features that are available, you can turn on and off. The business value is compelling. In terms of economic benefits are overwhelming, okay? Based on some of the metrics, the total cost of ownership, it's 50% less than on-premise. That's based on a research from Nucleus. The ROI is 3.2 times than on-premise, and the risk of technology obsolescence, RTO, is totally eliminated. Okay, which means that we don't need to start thinking on hardware or network replacements. That is also all done with Oracle. Now, thinking about when you start looking into Fusion applications and a SaaS solution, you need to start planning on day 2 early on, which means all these aspects of planning, pod management, strategy of cloning or P2T, security, how you map the roles, that is something that you need to be with someone that knows about it, that has experience about it, because having the roles, and we have troubleshoot some of projects for customers that were done by system integrators that were not that great, and we needed to troubleshoot that with roles that were created customized, which created a big mess on their implementations. Our recommendation is start early on. Just start with the configurations and the setups and all that, thoroughly plan ahead of time to make sure that you can work in a more agile way format the day 2, which is the day after the go live. So that's my presentation of today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This is my email, my Twitter account, my LinkedIn account. Feel free to reach out to me directly or connect with me. Thank you very much again to the Asia Pacific Oracle user community and Francisco for making us and trying to continue building this virtuous circle of communities across the world. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon on my next session or next year, hopefully in person. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
CloudDB, shaping your new normal.